Hi, I'm Wine Guy Ty. Welcome to the Barrel Room. Harry Hertscheg is my guest today. He's the executive director of the Vancouver International Wine Festival. Hi, Harry.
I'm liking the Barrel Room.
Excellent. Before introductions, Harry, I just want to draw attention to my last episode with Christine Coletta. For listeners who are not familiar, she is really the modern-day matriarch of wine in BC. We had a really interesting discussion about developing the appellation system here in BC, which is still ongoing. And she owns Narrative Winery, and which is formerly Okanagan Crush Pad, the foremost concrete fermenting winery in British Columbia, which was so fascinating. So, if that sounds intriguing to you, head on over there and have a listen. So, Harry, DIP WSET, Certified Sherry Wine Educator, Italian wine specialist, which is conferred by the North American Somm Association, the other NASA, French wine scholar, and as I read very briefly on X, wine DJ.
I used to be very involved with CITR radio at the University of British Columbia. And one of the things while I was there, I was really into news, public affairs. I was a DJ. And one of the things, as I developed my interest in wine, the similarity between wine and music is it's such a sensory experience. Like, for example, in music, can you imagine a life where you have a choice of 5 songs? Well, like, why do you need more than 5 songs? Like, pick a favorite song and play the favorite song over and over and over again. Why explore different genres of music? Find what you like and just stick to it. And I thought, interestingly, wine is somewhat similar. Why does there have to be thousands upon thousands of different wines? Why can't there just be 5 wines in the world? Pick your favorite, drink the same thing every day for the rest of your life, or maybe just on weekends. And that's because music and wine has this sense of novelty. And wine is really like music and art. Mm-hmm. And where music is Absolutely. The art of what you hear, wine is the art of what you smell and taste. And It would be boring to drink the same wine. And so, as a wine DJ, if I'm at a party or I'm involved in developing the wine program for an event, I think of it as the same way as a wine DJ at a wedding or a wine DJ at a party. Sure. Is you got to read the room, read the crowd, and pour some different wines.
Are these more Cab Sauv Folk or Sagrantino?
And then you have to, you're still going to start with sparkling. You don't go straight to the cab. So that makes me a wine DJ. Yeah.
Channeling chaos is how you've described your work. How's the chaos this week? We are barely a few days off for this year's festival. Is it like a babbling brook or a raging torrent?
Well, I'm going to go back to my CITR radio days again. I was a station manager, and I was the only full-time employee. And we had 100 some DJs during the course of the week. And one of the things I realized as I was managing this alternative music, punk rock radio station, is that these DJs were very passionate, they're very creative, and radio is a very creative outlet. And really, the whole notion that you can just control these people or control programming, it was not a commercial station. And what I learned in radio is that in the realm of where there is creativity, you've got to be able to channel the chaos. And then I went into theater for a number of years, and theater artists are very passionate, very creative. And again, these are not people that you can control. And so I learned how to channel all that energy without controlling it. And then I thought, I love the wine festival. I was involved in it for many years. And finally, for some whatever reason, I got the full-time job. But I find that I took the same approach. You can't control the wineries. You can't control the agents. We have 147 wineries this year. And yes, attention to detail is really important, but you can't, if you want control, a festival is not a place where you can exercise control. You really have to be able to channel people's passions and, yes, make sure that they're at the right place And so that's where the channeling chaos comes in.
And that's where we're about to release in just a few short days from now. So I just wanted, for those listeners who may not have attended the festival or might not be familiar, here's the history, and here are the quick Coles Notes facts about the wine festival. Recognized as the best international wine festival in North America and biggest at this point, it's the continent's premier wine event. Actually, one of the biggest and oldest wine events in the world. This is number 45, and oh my God, so far since way back in 1979, one winery, Robert Mondavi. Italy is the host nation this year, fourth time with 71 total wineries participating, which is super exciting for me. For this go-round, more Italian winery representation in the city than ever before. So the last years were 2016, 2008, Y2K. So basically sort of every 8 years showcasing Italy. And as you say, 147 wineries this year from a dozen countries. More than just Italy. 15 dinners, many seminars, trade events, mixers, food and wine pairings, and of course public tastings. And the now famous Bacchanalia Gala Soiree, with proceeds benefiting Vancouver's Bard on the Beach, the charitable partner, since 2012, and hosted by none other than rock star winemaker himself, Howard Soon. So a total of 42 events over 8 days. So Harry,
you're stressing me out. That's a lot of stuff to organize.
This is the channeling that you were just talking about. Take us back to your first event. What has changed for you personally since you began helming? You've been at this for what, a dozen years?
Well, my first day on the job was 9/11.
Okay.
And so that's I guess 22 and a half years ago. And I wasn't really sure I was going to take this job. I had some people who said, "Harry, it's a difficult job. You'll never raise enough money to please the charity, which is at the time the Vancouver Playhouse Theatre Company, and you'll never make the agents happy because you'll never generate enough wine sales to satisfy them." And so I realized early on, if everyone can be equally miserable, that's better than try to make some people happy and some not people. I don't mean everyone's miserable, but basically a level playing field. And I was thinking, it reminds me of the sort of the ethos of a vineyard manager. The point of managing a vineyard is to leave the vineyard in a better place than you found it. Mm-hmm. And so my love for the wine festival is really built on the sense of every year. I mean, we only do this once a year. Like if you worked on a magazine, after a few issues, you'd kind of get the hang of it. But when you're only doing something once a year, it really takes a long time to be able to kind of tweak it. It's like a vineyard. You only get to harvest those grapes once a year. You get one crack at it. And during the course of the year, we have like well over 100, 150, 200 deadlines that we have to like tackle. And you need to get those deadlines done. And just like a vineyard, there's certain things. You got to do the pruning. There's going to be flowering, bud break. There's all those things that have to happen during the course of the year. There can be climatic changes. In our case, there was a pandemic. But anyway, I'm doing everything I can so that I ensure that this vineyard, this wine festival ecology is better off than when I found it. Yeah. And so this was originally founded by John Levine in 1979 with just 2 events. Mm-hmm. I went to my first wine festival in, I think it's 1987, because I took a wine course. I came out of university, mm-hmm. and there was just something fascinating about, I was interested in beer, I was interested in spirits, I was interested in wine, mm-hmm. and I took this wine course at King George Night School. And the instructor, Michael Willingham, he said at the end of the course, he said, "Harry, if you seem to be really interested in wine. If you're really interested in wine, you know what you should do? You ought to go to this thing called the Vancouver Playhouse International Wine Festival." I said, "Well, I've never heard of that." Mm-hmm. He goes, "It's a great event. You'll have wines from around the world." So I went and attended. In 1987, the festival was at the Hyatt Hotel, over 2 floors. And I think the moment where I went, wow, this is so cool, is there was a winery from Lebanon called Chateau Moussard. And the whole notion...
Yeah, I know it.
that there could be wines from Lebanon that you can taste, I thought was just fascinating.
Yeah, I met a principal winemaker from Lebanon at another event just very recently, 6 months ago or so, and fantastic, passionate winemaker, wonderful wines. But, he got his cell phone out and he showed me some pictures of the vineyard as he's scrolling through, and I'm seeing 10-foot snowbanks on each side of the road driving up to one of his vineyards. And, for myself, I was thinking, I don't equate Lebanon with this crazy kind of snowbanks and all this stuff, but of course, they have elevation and just fascinating to me. The industry itself has seen some unique challenges most recently, and notable reports that wine consumption in general is on the decline. Obviously, you know about this. So what do you see driving it, and how should a winery respond?
Well, I'm in the wine event business, so I've been thinking about that regardless where you are on your wine journey, regardless about wine consumption, I'm trying to appeal to each person individually. My background's in geography, and the thing about wine that I love, like we mentioned, Lebanon, it came from those mountains, is this beverage, this product, it is a business, but this beverage comes from a specific place. So, in terms of a music concert, regardless how often I listen to music, or regardless how interested I'm in music, I enjoy opera, I enjoy rap music, I enjoy a live concert, So regardless, however, whether wine consumption is increasing or decreasing, it's still a beverage that's been around for thousands of years. It's still a multi-billion-dollar business, and there's going to be individual challenges that wineries have to face. But I'm going to do everything I can as a wine event producer, that regardless of your age, whether you're 25, 35, 65, wherever you are on your wine journey, whatever your consumption level is, the whole reason to come to the wine festival for 3 hours and taste wines and be able to connect with the producer and look them straight in the eye and go, "You made this wine? Where did you make this wine? And tell me about, your vineyards and and what was your passion to make this wine." Regardless how much wine you drink, I think it's a starting point with wine is to understand, to appreciate this amazing beverage that's been around for 1,000 years, that comes from a place that has a story behind it, that has really amazing aromas and flavors. To me, that's what I can do for the wine industry. How each winery really
navigates
depends, right? Yes. Because they could be a state winery with 5,000 cases. They could have a wine club, and they could have a very passionate connection with their customers. Or you could be a large corporation where branding becomes so more important. Right. I can't tackle those issues. I wish them luck, but I want to make sure that when you come to the wine festival, whether it's a seminar or a dinner or a mingler or a party, or you're in the tasting room, you are connecting with the people who are making this amazing beverage. And if you have an appreciation for it, you can share that passion, develop your own passion with wine, and then share that with others. And to me, that's more important than how much wine they drink over the course of the year.
Absolutely. So the mandate for the festival is threefold: to provide an informative, educational, and entertaining wine experience for public and trade, be a premier marketing opportunity for the wine industry and festival partners, and raise funds for the Bard on the Beach Theater Society. Festival has raised to date north of $10 million in support of arts in BC, which is just phenomenal. You've worked within the arts community prior as well. I know you had a stint at VECC, the East Side Cultural Center there. How important is that association for you, Harry?
Well, going back to my CITR radio days, I really had an appreciation for musicians and artists. And when I managed CITR radio, I realized I wasn't really managing a radio station. I was really managing an arts organization that uses radio as the medium. And so
that's interesting, yeah.
It seemed the path for me was not from this sort of arts creative radio station to a commercial radio station. really it made more sense to, at that time, manage the Vancouver Fringe Theatre Festival and then the Vancouver East Culture Center. So I have this love for the arts, and when the festival was started in 1979 by the Vancouver Playhouse Theatre Company and founded by John Levine, the reason he did a wine tasting, he said, look, I don't want to organize another bake sale. I don't want to organize another car wash. I have some connections with Robert Mondavi Winery in California. Let's do a wine tasting, see if they can contribute the wine, and see if we can sell a few tickets and raise some money for the theater company, because John was on the board of governors of the Playhouse Theatre Company, and one of the responsibilities when you're on a board of a theater company is you have to raise funds for the theater company. A theater company, ticket sales don't cover the costs of doing theater. So theater companies are eligible to be charities so that they can receive donations.
Yes.
And so the Playhouse Theatre Company and the wine industry developed this wine festival because to pour wines at a discount or tax-free, duty-free, you need to have the net proceeds go to a charity. You know, it's interesting over the years, people go, well, why are you raising money for theater? Like, why don't you raise money for sick children and, you know, charities like that? Sick children, hospital, and healthcare issues are really important, and they do raise a lot of funds. We shouldn't begrudge. Yeah. It shouldn't, you know, I don't know what, some people will find it a little, well, why raise money for theater? Well, let's not begrudge the theater community for starting the wine festival, and let them have the proceeds because they need it to be able, and BARD does amazing things. They do amazing outreach in the community. They do education with people, children in the school system, and so it's a great fit. And let's look back, you know, thousands of years. God, like the god of wine, Dionysus, in Greek times, or let's say in Roman times, god of Bacchus. Yes. Which then has the words of Bacchanalia. It's not an accident that they were the gods of wine, but they were the gods of wine and theater. Now, why is that? Why? Like, it's the perfect, like, how? What is it that the Greeks and Romans knew thousands of years ago that somehow in this modern world we get a disconnect? I can tell you, because wine was the art of smell and taste. And theater is the art of sight and sound. And a bacchanal is when you add the sense of touch and you have an orgy at the end of it. So, I mean, really, when you look at it's what Dionysus and Bacchus represent, it's the engagement of all five senses.
I didn't see the orgy on the event talk.
I don't encourage that. Like, I'm talking about thousands of years ago.
Yes. Wines... But wine seminars are an integral component on offer. So, you know, and obviously a learning aspect for many. An example this year that I was looking at what's going to be happening very shortly is Sergio Zingarelli from Rocca del Masi is doing a vertical tasting of Chianti Classico Gran Selezione, which is going to be wonderful. Why are the seminars so important?
Well, let's look at that mandate. You said inform, educate, entertain, let's say engage public and trade. This is a seminar that's going to be very informative, educational, entertaining. So the way we look at it, the information informativeness is what you get when you come to the event and have the materials. The entertaining part is that the owner, producer, Sergio, is going to be there explaining his wines. And the educational part is to be able to taste this flight of wines that you wouldn't be able to otherwise get on your own. And just like a theater show or a music concert, I find when I go to a wine event like that, I find it a really transformative experience. I'm a different person coming out of the tasting than going in the tasting. I think the reason you're having a passion about wine is that when you go through a wine event or it's an amazing experience that makes you feel like you're alive and that you understand the world a little bit more. And
it just enhances your enjoyment of wine, just in general.
And you mentioned that we're also marketing opportunities. So we're really grateful that Sergio and his brand and his winery is putting on this tasting so they can have a marketing opportunity. I mean, they're there to sell more wine. Absolutely. And his Gran Seleziones and his line of wines are fantastic.
Yes, they are. Why Vancouver? Why is Vancouver the perfect place for this kind of festival? How have we gone from one winery to being the world's most arguably respected and largest wine festival on the planet?
I think geography has a lot to do with it, and that we're a port city. Vancouver is the closest international city to California. Mm-hmm. So back, let's say, if we look back at the 60s and 70s, when this festival started in 1979, Vancouver was the first export city for California wines. Okay. And so that's why our first winery was Robert Mondavi Winery. And that's why for a couple of years we were the California Wine Fair, which is still going strong across Canada. And so whereas the East Coast cities, Montreal, Toronto, they tend to be dominated by France, mm-hmm. Italy.
More European.
More European. Yeah. The American market is very dominated by California.
Also in the calendar slot for the year, at this time of year, moved up now back to February as of 4 months behind last year. The weather would be a big factor too, because we're so mild out here, I would imagine.
Yeah, but when you look at the Vancouver port, we were the port that was accessible to California wines, Australia wines, New Zealand wines, Chilean wines. Mm-hmm. We're the closest port to those places.
Yeah.
So we have huge market share. So regions. Market share between France and Italy and Chile and Australia and New Zealand, it's all very competitive.
Yes.
And so Vancouver has become a very strong international place to drink wines. And when we started in 1979, there wasn't much of a BC wine industry. So now there's also, a local production of wines. It's really fascinating.
About 300 wineries across the province at this point, which is amazing. In a pretty much the same few decades. Yeah.
It used to be that the BC wineries, we'd only have like 10 or 12 in the show, and they would never want to be together because people would ignore them. And this was back in the 80s and early 90s. And now that we group the wineries together by country, it's amazing for both consumers and trade, their passion for BC winers and how popular they are now, which is fantastic.
I love that too. And I, as an ambassador of wine for British Columbia myself too, that's an integral component and very important. Italia. Grape alphabet or wine alphabet: Amarone, Brunello, Caracante, Dolcetto, Etna, Rosso, Falanghina, Gracetto. There is no grape, as far as I understand, for H or J or W, X, Y. Z is Zabibo.
Yeah, Zabibo.
Zabibo, right?
And Pantelleria.
Yeah, so, obviously for myself as an Italian wine scholar, some of my favorite wines on the planet. What are yours, and what are you most looking forward to here for this go-around?
I think the diversity from Italy is amazing, and that's why we're using the sort of tagline, Discover Italy. I mean, people know Italy, they've heard of Italy, they've been to Italy, they've drunk Italian wine, but the whole notion, when you name those grapes, and then you could go and name all the different regions, regardless, in the valleys and the. There's just such diversity in Italy. It would take you a lifetime to truly kind of get a handle on it.
20 different regions, as we have the map behind us here in the barrel room, and 5 autonomous regions. It's almost like it's a world of wine unto itself, this country.
When you look at France, people have heard of Bordeaux and Burgundy, Alsace, Rhone, and there's certain grapes that are associated with each of those regions, and those grapes have become the international grapes that are grown worldwide, whether California or Okanagan. And Italian grapes, for some reason, don't travel as well. You don't see those grape names in other places.
Yeah.
There's a bit of Sangiovese, of course, in the Okanagan Valley and Trebbiano.
Yeah.
But what's so amazing about Italy is to have such a large country of wine, such diversity that with grapes and places, that are unmatched the rest of the world.
Yeah, and more history than the rest of the world, from Roman times and the Visigoths and on and on. Yeah, so fascinating. I read somewhere your dream job was going to be a TV meteorologist. So I was thinking about that. I guess climate, weather, terroir, somewhere in there, that's definitely tied to grape growing and winemaking. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Look, when I was a kid, I was fascinated watching the weather report because there's some person on the TV predicting the future. I thought that was the coolest. I mean, the whole notion.
Well, the funny thing about that is,
many
years ago, I actually had a chance to work with Norm Groman. Norm Groman was 27-year veteran weatherman for BC TV at the time, and he had just retired. And one of the things that he said to me, which I thought was so funny, is, after 27 years of reporting the weather every day, I still don't know anything about climate or the weather. Which, it's kind of funny to think about, but
it's true. The more you learn about wine, the more you realize what you don't know. And to me, it's kind of like between climate, weather, music, and wine. It's a lifetime exploration.
It's very humbling.
That's part of it, is the humbling. How easy it is to get it wrong, and you try as hard as you can. Anyway, I do. I don't have that dream job, but. I feel,
Well, this other one's
close.
Not too bad.
Close.
Yeah. So, folks attending this festival for the first time, there's roughly 800 plus wines to taste. You've probably disseminated all kinds of ideas and advice, but what would your advice be for this one?
Well, I think Sandra Oldfield's advice. I'm going to start with hers.
Oh, wonderful.
And she...
Top winemaker of Canada.
And she used to be at Tinhorn Creek. She says the first thing she does when she goes in the tasting room, she goes straight to the on-site BC liquor store.
Yeah.
And looks at all the labels that are on the shelf to get a visual sense, just very quickly, in 3 to 5 minutes. And so rather than having just the list of wines in a booklet, you now have the visual, and you see them. Oh, I recognize that brand. I've seen that label before. Oh, that's different, because a quarter of all the wineries in the tasting room are new to the festival year in and year out. Mm-hmm. And 3/4 of the wines
sometimes.
3/4 of the wines are spec listings or not normally available. But that gives you a visual sense of what's in the room. And then I think for someone new, we have this year 12 countries. Go to one winery table from each of the 12 countries. Or if you're going to the Italy section, go look on the winery sign and go to a winery from different regions. Sure. I think first and foremost, get a sense of the diversity.
Is there a winery here from Molise?
Not specifically.
Not specifically.
No. Oh. So that's my advice, is to get a sense of just the global snapshot of the wines in the room. And the other thing is, it's a wine tasting event, not a lineup festival. So, you don't have to go to the winery tables that are busy. There's always a table that, go to a table that's not busy, and that gives you more time with the winery principal.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's good advice. Certainly, I'm looking forward to it. Vancouver International Wine Festival, an immersive celebration of the world of wine, runs February 24th to March 3rd at the gorgeous Vancouver Trade and Convention Center West, with that stunning backdrop of Burrard Inlet and the North Shore Mountains. Tickets are going fast. Some sold out, available now. We'll share all the links in the description, of course. If you want to log online immediately, vanwinefest.ca is the portal. You can purchase tickets now. Harry, thank you so much for taking this moment and being in the barrel room with me. Channeling chaos is going to continue, I expect, for the next few days, and away you go. Anything else you want to add?
One of the things I look forward to is buying wines on the on-site liquor store. And I'll probably buy a case or two.
Sure.
Using the bottle check. I'm not going to wait till the end of the night when it's busy. I'm going to go early.
Okay.
I'm going to purchase those wines. And one of the things I love about the on-site liquor store is that whatever wines you purchase, whether it's 2 bottles, 4 bottles, 3 cases, or whatever it is, they will deliver that case of wine to your local liquor store anywhere in the province. And one of the things I look forward to is that
anywhere in the province. Yeah.
Anywhere in the province.
Which is amazing, yes.
There's no other service there's no wine festival in the world that has that service.
That can do that.
And one of the things I look forward to the wine festival is that phone call I get from whether, like, usually I send the bottles to Park Royal. That phone call, that message that says, your wines are now ready, please come up and pick up your cases. Mm-hmm. And I've already purchased them. And then it's just so much fun to go to the liquor store, and there is, just when I thought the festival's over, I've got a couple of cases of wine to look forward to as like souvenirs of the festival. And some of the bottles I look for have signatures. So the wine producer will actually sign the bottles. And so that's what I'm looking for.
It's kind of like the personal afterglow, isn't it?
It is. I know.
For your cellar yourself, and you can enjoy that for years to come. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I am so looking forward to this festival this year. I will see you on the tasting room floor and at some other events, hopefully. Best of luck, Harry. And thank you for bringing this to us here in British Columbia and Vancouver. It's going to be wonderful.
Thanks for having me in the barrel room.
Cheers. You've been listening to The Barrel Room, and I'm Wine Guy Ty. If you like this content, remember to heart this episode. It really does help the algorithm, and you can also subscribe to this podcast for the low price of free, so you don't miss another future drop. Fun fact, if you hit the share button and copy link, many more humans can join us here as I raise my glass to you. Find The Barrel Room on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, and nearly anywhere else you get this type of content. As always, I appreciate you tuning in today. If you or someone interesting from the world of wine you know would like to be considered for an interview live in the Barrel Room, please reach out through your app or direct message me on IG at WineGuyTy. Remember, the best wines are those shared with friends. Let's share my next drop together. Cheers, santé, and salut.